In the old liturgy, the gospel that followed this reading of about Susanna was the story in John of the woman taken in adultery. And I think I've told you before, that was for a very special reason. During Lent in Rome, there was what was called a station church. People gathered there, and then after praying for a while, they walked in procession to another church where they celebrated the Eucharistic liturgy. And on the way, they read the reading and sang the Psalms and so forth. Well, today, the station church is Santa Susanna, which was in the red light district of Rome. Almost still is, actually. And so this reading about Susanna was proclaimed out there in the street to call people. I remember the first year we had the big charismatic conference for the East Coast, I guess it was, in Atlantic City. It was just before the Atlantic City went the way of Santa Susanna's neighborhood. And there were many prostitutes who had been already brought in, and many turned to the Lord because they were meeting all these Christians, walking on the boardwalk, going in to have a cup of coffee, and they touched them. It's a good example of what can happen with the power of the Lord and the desire to evangelize. Anyway, and so then the gospel was the woman taken in adultery. Neither do I condemn you. Go in peace. Now they put this other gospel here to begin to prepare us. Next Sunday is Palm Sunday, and then the whole week of the mystery of the Passion. What does it mean to Jesus say to us, I am the light of the world? What does that mean? Whoever follows me will not walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. How is Jesus the light of the world? For those of us who believe in him, you see, and follow him, which is not a common phrase in John, but to follow Jesus means to do what he tells us, to walk the way he walked. Then if we do, we have the light of life. We know the meaning of our life. We can read the situations around us with clarity and peace, even if they promise suffering. Because Jesus is the light of life. We know, as Jesus said about himself, you see. They said, well, if you're testifying in regard to yourself, well, he said, what? You see, realize, I do testify on my behalf, but my testimony can be verified. Why? Because I know where I come from and where I'm going. A deep answer, isn't it? Do you know where you came from? Do you know where you're going? As we grow in holiness, we are meant to know that. I come from God and I'm going to God. Not the way that Jesus is, because he is eternal God. But I know. I know the meaning of life. That means we're able to do for people what happened on the boardwalk of Atlantic City, because we carry the light of life. we don't walk in darkness. To be sure of that, you see, to know that is the whole purpose of the work of the Holy Spirit within us. To know that. This is a call. The nation last night took a direction which could cause a good deal of suffering. Who is going to lead people out of it? Those who believe. Those who believe. Because those who follow Jesus do not walk in darkness. What a promise. Whatever else can happen, we will not walk in darkness. We will know where we are going. And we will know the one we follow. That's a promise. So that now that we're sure of ourselves, we have to look out at the world and preach, help. That's what happens when we know where we come from and where we're going. We come from God the Father, and we're going to God the Father. This mystery of a human life, conceived, born, living, dying, and then meeting God. Meeting God. That's where we're going. And those who have tried to follow Jesus, which means what? Listening to what he says, pondering what he says, praying to be faithful to what he says. All of this is the work of the Holy Spirit in us. Every day we have a chance to pray for and implement conversion. Turn from sin. Remember the very first day of Lent. We were all put ashes on our forehead and the sign of the cross, and we heard, turn from sin and believe the good news. Still the same message. So now that we have just 2 weeks till Easter, you see, Easter is the time when Jesus Christ is newly present in this world, in and through the faith of the church and the believers. So for the sake of the world, have a conversion. Pray. Ponder the word. Let the Lord show you where he wants you to turn from sin so that you will have the light of life.